And I'm recording.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
Hello
All
again,
right.
everybody.
Started.
What's up? How we doing?
How are we?
We good.
So we are back for our second episode on the internet for Agree or Disagree. This is how we'll be doing them, I guess, for the rest of the school year because we're not going back to Ithaca anytime soon. So
Yeah,
we're canceled for the
I
year.
love that we all talked on the last episode, show, whatever. We all talked about how we were like, oh, we're pretty sure we'll be going back later this year.
And now
And nope.
Like 2 hours after getting that, we got the email, or after saying
Nope.
Yeah,
Yep.
but we actually will be back at some point to all get our stuff, I would assume.
Yeah, hopefully before
Yeah.
the 12th, unlike what the college said. But
Yeah, I don't even think it's going to be the 12th. I think it's going to be after that. But
Didn't they
hope
say?
not, because
Didn't
I have a week's
one
worth
of
of
the-
clothes, and I have a summer job that is working at a camp, so I need more than a week's worth of clothes for that.
Right.
No, guys, it's just going to be like this.
Yeah.
All our stuff's going to stay there. When we come back for next year, we just take it from the room we were in and we move it to the other place.
That would work. We could do that.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had us do that and then just had us move in like
In May,
before freshmen.
we could do that.
It would be doable, but
We could also move in May.
I need some of my stuff.
True. All right. Well, we could. Okay. Whatever.
Anyways.
We'll figure it out.
Let's get to the show.
So anyway,
let's
I'm not
today
gonna
on the
go
show-
by the way.
today on the show, we're going to be doing our free agency preview. We had our first episode. We talked a little bit about free agency, but now we're right in the midst of it. So we've had a bunch of big signings the last bunch of days, and some more to come certainly. So let's get it started. So I'm going to go through our top 100 free agent list. We can go through as many of these as we can, or as we want to, as we can, and we'll just talk about them. So our first player that comes up on this NFL on CBS list is Drew Brees. So we'll start with him in the quarterback carousel. A lot of quarterback movement, but Brees is the one that has really decided that he's going to stay put and finish his career in New Orleans. I know that makes you really happy, Aidan. So why don't we get your reaction first? Good.
I gotta say, of course, like you guys know it, I'm ecstatic about this. I knew he was staying. Here's the thing: even before all the reports started coming in about Brees saying like, I want to end my career as a Saint. I, in my heart, knew that Brees was going to be a Saint for the rest of his career. I had no belief whatsoever that there was any chance of him signing anywhere else. I thought it was more likely for him to retire at the end of this last season than sign somewhere else. So I can't say I'm surprised he signed with the Saints, but I'm incredibly happy. And I'll come back to it again in a little bit when we talk about another big name quarterback
Yes, we will.
free agent, because I feel like, especially like, it's hard to talk about Tom Brady and Drew Brees without talking about the other one just in general, but especially not in this case.
Right.
So I'll come back to
Yeah.
that.
And go ahead, Jack.
Well, I'm not really surprised by this. I think everybody knew it.
Yeah, that's not too much.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's really much to say there.
But I think we can get to a division rival that he'll be playing against all season and that quarterback situation. So let's just recap it a little bit. Tom Brady, and I know this may surprise you guys even after I'm saying it the next day.
Called it, baby.
Tom Brady is no longer a member of the New England Patriots. Before I even get your reaction of the team he plays for, what about that, and how is that even possible 20 years later after he's been there for so long, dominating 6 Super Bowls? It's crazy.
Thought it would never end. The torture, the pain.
It's over.
It's over. The division is wide open. Maybe not for us, but
For the Bills
for
How
you.
about you,
Hell,
Massachusetts
of
resident?
course.
and maybe the Dolphins too. They had a pretty good week.
Stop
they're
it.
balling
Stop
right
it with
now.
the Dolphins. I'll say, listen, one thing about the Dolphins. I've seen the story with Ryan Fitzpatrick before. He comes off an incredible year.
Patrick's gonna be horrible.
He-
Two a
contract.
time. It's two a time, Jack. It's two a time in Miami.
Tua's not playing week one.
Two a time. Yes, it is.
Wow.
He's my man. I've told you I love him.
Even if he's drafted, he's not playing right away.
Aiden,
Yeah.
what you got? You live in Massachusetts. How's it been so far?
I am not. I'm a Saints fan first, Patriots fan second, and I'm not the biggest fan of Tom Brady as a person or a player, even though I'm a Patriots fan. But there has it's hard to say. Like, no one was shocked. I don't think. Nobody in my family, none of my friends were like, "Oh my God, Tom Brady's signing somewhere else," because of like the weak months that kind of led up to this. We saw it coming that he was signing somewhere else. The shock to me was that he decided to sign with the Bucks instead of the Chargers.
Okay.
Because I think the Chargers have a better system in place. But what I see Tom Brady doing is that, to him, the Bucks are better set up to win right now.
Right.
And as a Saints fan, I'm terrified of the connect from the Brady to Godwin, Brady to Evans, Brady to Howard. I'm horrified of that.
That was my next question.
Time you feel our pain, Aidan.
Right, exactly.
Oh, man.
So in that division, it's
in my
tough.
defense, Brady to Edelman is a little bit different from Brady to Godwin.
Yeah.
Edelman can catch anything, but he runs slants and fades, or not fades, comebacks.
So moving on to Brady with the Bucks, I don't see him as a superstar quarterback anymore in terms of his actual production. I think he was terrible last year. I think everybody kind of knows that. But all of a sudden, I've been seeing a lot of Tampa Bay to the playoffs, Tampa Bay winning the division, and I just don't see it. I think there's probably 7 or 8 teams in the NFC that's going to be better than Tampa Bay next year. What do you guys feel about that? Because I don't think they're a playoff team.
I'll let you guys go. I got my feelings.
Go ahead, Dean.
First of all, I can't believe it. I still can't believe that Tom Brady is no longer a Patriot. I'm going to say in the previous show, I did say Brady's going to be wrong. And don't get me wrong, Tom Brady on the Bucs is a perfect fit on offense. You have the best duo in the league at wide receiver. He can help pass the ball sometimes. O.J. Howard. Their front seven I like their front seven. Their secondary does need work. They do need a run game, but it still stuns me because, looking at him in a different uniform, you didn't think he was – it looks weird. In a different uniform that is not a Patriot uniform. But I do think Brady will do pretty decent with the Bucs. I do like the supporting cast that Brady has around him. I still do think that they need a running back. But I like where this is I like what the Bucs did.
So in an expanded playoff year, Dean, are they a playoff team? Yes or no?
It's tough. I could see them making the playoffs, definitely. But you got teams now like we're going to get to this team later, but the Cardinals who are stacking up now, you still got the Niners, Seahawks. The NFC is a tougher place than the AFC. The NFC is stacked.
And it's deeper. Definitely deeper too, not just the top
deeper.
Team.
The NFC is a lot deeper.
Yeah.
But I still think the Bucs could manage to get a wild card spot. Division, no, but wild card possibly.
I agree. I agree with what Dean said that the Bucs, as of now, are still a running back away from having a solid offense. Oh, my flag started to fall down. They're a running back away from having a solid offense, and they are a defense away from having a good defense. So I'm not too worried about them winning the division. But I think and we'll get to some other teams later, but I think with some moves that other teams have made could be in competition for that new third wild card spot. And I think they'll be competing with the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Bears, and maybe the Rams too. Because we don't know that the NFC West looks pretty good this season.
And I gotta mention there are other teams in that spot. One of the Dallas, Philadelphia is going to be a wild card contender, probably.
Minnesota.
Right, Minnesota, Seattle. You need to say. So they're the NFC.
I think Minnesota is having easily the worst off season out of anybody.
Minnesota.
Yes.
Oh, for
sure. They did make a nice signing today, though. They did sign Michael Pierce. We may get to that later.
Michael Pierce is a good.
Yeah, but does that make up for trading Stephon Diggs for cutting Xavier Rhodes, not Xavier Howard, and extending Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins deserved the extension, though.
Okay.
One quick thing, if you don't mind. I was going to say the Chargers, though, it still sucks because the Chargers are also a more well-rounded team than the Buccaneers. They have they have a good defense. They have a good offense. They also have a good core, but I feel like the Bucs better. I don't know. It was just some connection. There was some connection there. There was something to it in Tampa Bay for Brady.
So let me bring up another point, and I want to see what you guys think about this. Antonio Brown. He's from Florida.
Oh,
He wants to play with Brady. Brady seems to want to play with him. There's another opening at wide receiver on that team to be the third guy. I guess he'd move into as the second option ahead of Godwin. But the point is they have a big three if he were to sign there. I think it's actually a real legitimate possibility. I could definitely see him going there. What do you guys think? But I think that would be an awesome addition, and I could definitely see it happening.
I think it's possible. The issue I see is I do not want that to happen. That is the last thing I want to happen. But I think it won't happen because there is a certain notion around the league now that Antonio Brown has sort of been blacklisted.
Yeah.
But not from Brady though. Like Brady seems
you can't sign him. It just looks terrible.
But for any team to sign Antonio Brown with the way that he's treated teams, coaches, other players on his team, I don't think any team wants to have to deal with that, especially not Bruce Arians, who is an old-fashioned kind of no-nonsense type of coach. Have you ever heard of any Bruce Arians team having trouble in the locker rooms? No. And
there's one coach that it was going to be fine under, and that was John Gruden, and that didn't work.
Right.
He was supposed to be better under Gruden. He wasn't. He was supposed to be better under Belichick. He was, but he got
one series.
But there was also allegations at the time too that was going on.
We don't know what would have happened after 2, 3, 4, 10 weeks with the Patriots.
Okay. Should we move on to more quarterbacks?
Move on to more quarterbacks.
Of course.
Okay. So to stay in the NFC or in the NFC South, sorry, another starter has gone to the Carolina Panthers. He's going from your team, Aidan, the New Orleans Saints. Your guy Teddy Bridgewater. He will be the new starter in Carolina. We would have to assume 3 years, $60-ish million to go there. I like the signing. I think he's a good player, but I don't really see the fit. So I'll get into that in a second. But what do you guys think? You guys start.
I didn't love this signing. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's a very good quarterback. Like you said, I don't think it's a great fit. And also, I don't think they have enough talent around him for him to compete and to possibly make the playoffs. I don't think their weapons on the outside are good enough. That's the biggest reason I think he was great with the Saints. He had Michael Thomas. He had Jared Cook, Kamara. I mean, he has McCaffrey. But outside of McCaffrey, I don't feel his weapons are that elite.
Moore is pretty good, though.
DJ Moore's solid.
Yeah. I think that I'm not
Michael Thomas.
I'm not happy about the signing, but I expected it. I did not expect the Saints to keep Bridgewater at all. I think what's going to happen, and what I'm afraid, I love Teddy Bridgewater as a person, so I want him to get his shot. What I think is going to happen is that, like Jack just said, they don't have a team around him. They don't have the offense he needs to be able to produce. So he's going to look real bad, and he's going to end up back where he was back when, the Vikings didn't want to re-sign him, back when he was traded for a 4th-round pick from the Jets to the Saints. Sorry, 3rd-round pick?
Yeah.
Third-round pick, yeah.
3rd-round pick.
Yes.
From the Jets to the Saints. And what I could see happening is, him playing out that 3-year contract, not getting re-signed because he didn't do too well, and then another team, maybe the Saints, swooping in, getting him for cheap and, playing to his strengths. But I don't think the Panthers, the way they're set up right now, the Panthers are not playing to his strengths.
Yeah.
DJ Moore is not enough of a receiving core.
Yes, 100%.
So what I'll say on this is I look at the Panthers roster, and I see the fact that they just hired a new coach in Matt Rule. And they gave him a contract that goes on for seemingly forever. It's like 7 years. And to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense why in the first 3 months of him getting hired as head coach, he would commit himself to a quarterback for at least a couple of years as the starter, especially when that guy isn't really known to be the most talented or the biggest or the fastest or strongest or anything. He's not that. He's just a solid quarterback and a solid guy. But I feel like they're in a position with Carolina where they can sort of go into the draft and get the guy that they fall in love with at quarterback And now that they have Bridgewater and they're paying him for a bunch of years and for a bunch of money, they're sort of locked into him. They can't get somebody and then develop him and then bring him in at their own pace. Now they're sort of locked in for a few years before they can ever get off of Bridgewater. And that's why it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They could have gotten a guy in the draft this year or next year, sat him for a year, and then played him. But with Bridgewater, you're not sitting Bridgewater after a season or however long to play a rookie or a second-year guy. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So that's why I didn't love the fit. But I think that they're an improved team. I think they could be a competitive playoff team.
Trevor.
There's always that risk
Right.
in drafting a quarterback. And to me, I don't think you ever draft a quarterback if you're looking to be an instant contender. You draft a quarterback if you're trying to rebuild. The Panthers are not in the rebuild mindset yet. That might be hurting them. That might be the wrong mindset to have. But they're not in the rebuild mindset. So for them to choose to draft a quarterback instead of signing someone who they at least know can play, like they at least know what Bridgewater can do in the NFC South and, in the NFL as a whole, as opposed to taking Love or From,
Herbert, one of those guys. Yeah.
I don't think Herbert's going to fall that far. Like,
What did the Panthers have? Like the 7th pick?
yeah, and I don't think Herbert's going to fall that far. I think Herbert will go before Tua.
Oh, really?
I mean, I think he's a better quarterback. But,
that was interesting to me. I didn't love the Bridgewater signing, but I mean, I get it. He's a good player.
Yeah,
They only signed him, I feel like, though, because of, like we discussed, Joe Brady, because he has the Joe Brady connection.
that is true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I still think, and I read something about Carolina there's a chance that Carolina could tank for the next draft to try to get Trevor Lawrence, which would it be? I don't think is a bad idea.
No,
I don't think they're going to get one this year. I think they're going to get defensive tackle. You're going to have Herbert probably go to a team like San Diego, Los Angeles, pardon, and he got Tua going to Miami.
What I'd love to see the Panthers do is you trade away Cam Newton. Obviously, you have to trade him now. And you either get a high-value draft pick for him, a second or maybe even a first-round pick, or you get a good tight end. You don't have Greg Olsen anymore, or you get a good wide receiver from him.
Okay.
And whatever you don't get between the tight end and the receiver, even if you have to reach in the draft, get someone good and get someone early. I think that's important for them.
So you mentioned Cam Newton, Aidan. Where do you guys see Cam going? I actually liked him to Chicago, and we'll get to Nick Foles later, but Chicago isn't an option anymore. So where do you think Cam will end up for this year?
This is interesting, but I'm gonna go with Washington. I just feel like Washington is not sold on Dwayne Haskins. Ron Rivera has the connection with Cam Newton. I do think Cam Newton would love to reunite with his coach. I think Cam Newton would be a better option right now in Washington than Dwayne Haskins. Granted, Washington doesn't have the best team right now, of course, but I think Cam Newton goes to Washington. I think Ron Rivera wants him there. I see the connection.
Okay. Go ahead, Jack.
I'm gonna go with New England. That's really the only spot I feel there's like a true opening. I feel like every place is set with either a young guy or they just signed somebody. That's just my opinion on it. I feel like they're the one spot that's truly open, and like there's no one else left. So that's where I could possibly see that.
How many years does Newton have left on his contract? 2 or 1?
I think just the one.
Just 1?
I think it's 1, yeah.
In that case, what I could really see happening is, of course, Jameis is still a free agent, so I'm interested to see where he goes. And he could go to either of these places too. I think I would not be surprised if Cam went to the Bengals or the Dolphins, and then either of those teams, whoever gets him, plays him for a season. They draft a quarterback in this draft, sit him for a year, get him ready, and then they just don't re-sign Cam Newton. You take him for a loan.
It's not a bad idea.
1 year as a mentor, especially if you're going to take someone like Tua, another scrambling quarterback, would be great to sit behind someone like Cam for a season. Burrow, not quite a scrambler, but he was pretty mobile in college. and so was Herbert. So all three of them could definitely benefit from sitting behind.
Well, you mentioned Herbert, and you mentioned scramblers, and the Chargers were not an option anymore because now they're going to stick with Tyrod Taylor, and
I think
Justin Herbert
That was
can.
my position. I thought Cam could go to the Chargers because you
Me
take
too.
Cam and you take Tyrod Taylor, and they're basically the same guy,
Yeah,
but Cam's like
exactly.
a million times more talented.
Yeah. I thought Teddy was going to go to the Chargers. I thought that was the best situation.
I thought Teddy was going to Chicago.
I liked Cam to Chicago. That was the spot that I had him going for.
I thought Teddy to LA with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, Eckler. That's a team that's built with talent.
I will say, I'm not a believer in Tyrod. I saw what he did with the Bills, and it was not good.
I agree.
That being said, when he was on the Bills, he didn't have any receiving weapons, or he didn't have weapons to the level of Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry.
When you're getting replaced by Peter Meme, I think there's some problems.
Yeah,
they got bailed out that year.
So Jack, let me just ask you something. You meant, and I think this is interesting what you mentioned. You said New England's a spot for Cam. But it's been rumored for a while now that Andy Dalton might be the guy for Cam. And you said that New England's the only opening. Andy Dalton's a good enough player to be a starting quarterback in this league. Where do you see Andy Dalton going? Because I see New England as the better spot for Dalton.
Yep.
Yeah, I also see New England for him. It's interesting. I don't know. I feel like all these guys that are question marks, there's just no spots for them. They're just all of them are just gonna have to be backups. Like I can't see any other way. Like I can't see Jameis and Cam Newton both being starters this year in the NFL. That will
But they're
not
both
happen.
good enough too. That's the thing. They both good enough.
Because the problem today is all these guys don't retire. Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, they're all playing in near their 40s. So these young guys and the game managers, they have no place.
Teddy Bridge, I will say, Brees, Brady, Roethlisberger, and Rodgers not retiring this offseason, and Bridgewater going to a new team, going from backup to starter. Those and Minshew going from backup to starter. Those three, or all those moves together, are kind of causing a surplus in talent for quarterbacks. So yeah, I agree. There's not enough spaces for quarterbacks. I could see if the Bengals don't decide to trade for Newton, I could see the Bengals still drafting a quarterback and playing out Dalton's contract, or playing him 1 or 2 seasons and then benching him.
Okay.
Giving someone a season or two to rest. So who knows?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to go to New England, though. I think the Patriots are going to either roll with Jarrett Stidham, which I think is their best option right now.
That's their plan.
That's a really bad.
Or they are going to
I actually want to mention
draft someone at 24, I think they're at. 23.
Go ahead, Jack.
if they want to do something interesting, and I saw this on Twitter today, which I actually kind of like it, they trade for Josh Rosen.
Oh, I forgot about Josh Rosen.
That's interesting.
He's a starter, too, that does not going to get a spot.
And also, Josh Rosen had the most unfair opportunity in history of the NFL. I've never seen a top 10 NFL draft pick just literally like tossed aside and forgotten about like in 1 year.
Dwayne Haskins is sort of in the same situation. Dean, you think they're gonna trade for Cam? I mean, he's only played a year, not even.
No, I think Haskins.
I said also because I feel like the Redskins aren't sold on him. I feel like Dwayne Haskins is. I'm not saying he's fully in the same situation, but he's, approaching that same situation that Rosen was in. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of falling into that.
The difference is I don't think that Jay Gruden was like.
Jay Gruden didn't want to draft him.
Gruden did not want Haskins, even when he knew that he needed to bench Keenum. He did not, and he just kept playing him over Haskins. And when Haskins finally was playing games, he wasn't game planning around Haskins. He was doing everything he could to not have Haskins play to his potential. I think that was his issue this season with a coach that cares, with a coach that wants him to succeed. I think we're going to see a much different Dwayne Haskins.
That's the problem with Redskins. They always do that. They always draft quarterbacks what the coach doesn't want. That's what happened with RG3, and you could tell from the whole time Mike Shanahan did not want him there. That's why they drafted Kirk Cousins that same season.
True. Good point.
True. Good point.
That's their issue.
So on to another quarterback that we were just talking about seemingly won't retire, and one that I think absolutely should retire. Phillip Rivers was god-awful last year. The Chargers were probably the league's biggest disappointment.
It was all his fault.
Melvin Gordon held out, too.
Right, they had a lot of problems, but Rivers was one of them.
Anthony Lynn's.
And so now he's going to Indianapolis. I think it's an awful idea. I absolutely just cannot stand it. But what do you guys think about Phillip going to another place for the first time in, what is it, year 17 now it's going to be? I think it's year 17.
It was 04, so yeah.
Yeah.
Same as Eli Manning.
Ooh, unlimited minutes.
I actually find the fit kind of interesting from a point that I think the Colts have a good enough offensive line that it will work. And if Hilton can be healthy, I believe they'll get Funchess back, if I'm correct. Right?
I think Funchess is a free agent.
Is he?
No, I don't know.
I like Devin Funchess. I think he's a good number 2. Ebron, he has weapons there. He has a good enough O-line. They have the running game with Marlon Mack if he can stay healthy. And their defense, which a move which I loved, getting DeForest Buckner, that was a great move.
Yeah.
I think their defense is going to continue to get better. Frank Reich is a good coach, and I think he'll figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah, I was about to say, not to mention, they have, in my opinion, top 7 coach in the league right now. You know, I don't think that Indy was the best place for him, but Indy needed a quarterback, and I think he was the best option for Indy.
See, that's where I disagree with you, Aidan, because
they weren't going to land Bridgewater too expensive. They weren't going to land Brady too competitive, and too expensive. And so they
Brady in a Colts uniform is just wrong.
True.
all the times he destroyed them, that you just can't have that.
It was Winston or Rivers.
It's like when Brett Favre was in a Viking uniform. Like you can't accept it. Like,
well, he was also in a Jet uniform.
Okay, so here's the thing. So
yeah, but Brett Favre wasn't a Jet killer like he was a Viking killer.
Oh yeah,
that's my point.
You look at all the quarterbacks. Talking about the surplus of quarterback talent. So I understand why Rivers sort of fits in Indianapolis because of the offensive line and how the offensive line in LA was terrible last year and he got sacked repeatedly and he's not mobile enough to get away. But I look at the other guys, and even if they're not as talented as Phillip Rivers, because obviously Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer, at least in my opinion.
Yes.
You look at the guys like Mariota, or you look at somebody like a Dalton, or players like that who are just better at this stage because they're just younger and just a better fit for today's NFL. I didn't understand why they didn't go for those guys. Honestly, I would rather have Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
Like I don't think
Rivers
Rivers
is another possibility now that I think about it.
Rivers maybe
Belichick
drafting a
want him
quarterback at one point.
What do you guys think happens to Brissett?
I don't know. Even Brissett could honestly start. Like, I could see Rivers getting benched next year. He was not good last year at all in any facet. His arm isn't the same. He can't move. Like, I get he's a Hall of Famer and he's been around forever and he's a Chargers legend, but he just isn't that good.
For another day, but is Phillip Rivers a Hall of Famer? Because
Yes.
I would debate that. I would debate that claim heavily.
He's not a first ballot. He's not going to get in right away.
I'd say of the 4 big quarterbacks drafted that year, he is the farthest away from being a Hall of Famer.
See, to me, if Eli Manning's a Hall of Famer, which I think he absolutely is, then there's no doubt.
Eli Manning is only a Hall of Famer because of.
But Eli Manning is also. I don't think Eli Manning's first ballot.
Oh no, but I don't. This is a debate for another day. Anyways, we'll come back to this. We'll definitely come back to this.
Yeah.
Do we get to all the quarterbacks, or do we miss anybody?
Mariota.
Should we go briefly over the Foles trade?
Oh yeah, we can do that. Good.
Yeah. So Foles traded to the Bears just 1 year into his 4-year, $80 million contract.
Yeah.
I dislike it. I like Trubisky. I think the Bears needed to give him another chance while actually, playing to his potential. They need to incorporate the scramble more. I'm interested to see what happens to Trubisky, if they keep him as a backup or if they trade him somewhere. So those are my thoughts, I guess.
Okay. Dean?
It was a weird trade for me. I didn't think Nick Foles was gonna get traded. Well, at least not to the Bears. But I mean, I didn't think it made sense. I didn't like it. I don't think Nick Foles is going to be good. I think Nick Foles is a system player. I think he only worked in Philadelphia. He still has Matt Nagy. He still has John.
Nagy worked with him in Kansas City. He's under the Andy Reid tree, so he works.
Matt Nagy. Who's the Eagles quarterback? It was John DeFilippo or something like that.
John DeFilippo.
Yeah, John DeFilippo. He has that, which is it works for him. But I just don't think he'll thrive in Chicago. I just don't see the fit. I don't think the trade makes sense either.
Yeah, I thought it was a strange one. I think they definitely had better options.
This also hands Minshew the starting job, of course.
And also, it just makes it's like I don't know. Is Foles making more than Newton?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think it's worth taking on that big of a contract.
But I would say
Also, with the Bears, nothing is. I'm sorry, before I go. With the Bears, nothing's going to work until Matt Nagy accepts that he has to run the football.
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to make it one point. I liked Cam there. I've said that before. But now that you guys mention it, we say Gardner Minshew's going to be the starter for the Jaguars next year. Why can't they add like a famous or a guy like that and have them compete in camp? Like, I don't see why you have to hand Gardner Minshew the starting job. I didn't think of that till right now.
I don't think he's ready.
He's not ready.
I think
I would acquire someone.
I disagree. I think Gardner Minshew had he had a tough introduction to the NFL.
Yeah, but he had a good start, though.
He did, but it was tough coming in with a team that hadn't decided if it was tanking or not yet. And they still haven't decided whether or not they're tanking.
No, they have. They are.
Yeah.
But they tagged Ngakoue and
that's just to get assets.
Keeping Fournette, they're keeping Chark, they're keeping all these people.
Well, I would keep Chark.
I would too. But if you're trying to tank, I don't know.
Chark's a young receiver to build around.
Starts from scratch, but yeah.
I don't think they're quite in a tank yet. Either way,
you want to move on to everybody's favorite America's team? Actually, my second to least favorite team. You want to move on to them? They've had some interesting things happen in the last few days.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Everybody loves talking about the Cowboys. So the Cowboys have had a lot go on the last couple of days. First, they didn't sign Dak Prescott to an extension, which I completely disagree with. Then they went out and let Byron Jones go. Then they went and signed Amari Cooper to a contract he doesn't deserve. And then they went out and signed a couple other guys, including Gerald McCoy, which I really liked. But a very strange day for Jerry and the Cowboys, as it typically is all 365 days of every year, because they're the most entertaining franchise in sports, and it's not even close.
All I'll say is this. The Cowboys, they lost Jeff Heath. They lost the GOAT. They're done.
Yes, they did. Truth, Jack. Good point. Dean?
This was weird. I mean, Byron Jones, I think, was going to get let go either way. I think Robert Quinn was going to let go either way. Robert Quinn went to Chicago, which I don't know if I mean, I like that Chicago's loading up on defense, but you got to build on offense. Offense was the problem. And Byron, like I said, Byron Jones leaving, I think he's good, but I do think he got overpaid. Who else left? Jeff Heath?
Yeah, they've had a couple. Maliak Collins left.
Robert Quinn.
Quinn, you mentioned. There's a few.
Yeah.
Robert Quinn got overpaid. My Lord, he got overpaid.
Yeah, true.
Oh, yeah.
That stunned me.
Amari Cooper got –
Also, I want to say, I think Jadeveon Clowney, once he signed, I think he needs to be tested, for drugs. The guy had 3.5 sacks last year, and he's demanding money like Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack. Are you on
kidding
drugs?
me?
I like Jadeveon Clowney.
No, I think he's good, but you got to actually put up numbers if you want that kind of money, and he doesn't do that.
Yes.
Aiden, go ahead. What do you like to talk about the Cowboys?
I dislike the Dak tagging, but for a different reason. I don't think that Dak is good enough to warrant using that franchise tag. I think you wasted it by using on him instead of using it on Jones, who would have been he was a far more important piece to keep, especially we've been talking about it, the free agency and draft market for quarterbacks this season is deep. The Cowboys could have gotten someone. It's too late for them to get anybody now, except for maybe Winston or Newton.
They're not going to draft the last quarterback the Cowboys drafted was Troy Aikman
No, I know.
in the first round.
Oh, in the first round, yeah. Well, I'm just saying they had so many other options, and I don't think that Dak was the best of those options. I do like them keeping Amari. They overpaid for him, but he's not a $100 million receiver.
Yeah,
but
great.
He's worth $100 million to the Cowboys because without him, Dak Prescott isn't going to be able to throw to anyone. And yes, I know they have Gallup. He's a good receiver, but he's not a number one receiver. He's not an Amari Cooper.
Yes.
You know, you're not beating the Eagles. If you didn't beat the Eagles last year when the Eagles were playing their practice squad, you know, you're not beating the Eagles without Amari Cooper.
Yes.
Hurt shoulder, bro.
All right, Jack. Anyway, I will make the point that, and I'm not a Dak fan. I think I've said that many times on the air before. I do not like the Cowboys. I do not like Dak Prescott. But when you are a fourth-round draft pick, you show all this promise. You win 2 divisions. You nearly make the playoffs the third time in your first 4 years. And you play for the Cowboys and you take on that kind of scrutiny and that kind of national attention. How do you not get paid? Like, I don't think he's a $35 million a year quarterback. I don't even think he's a $30 million a year quarterback. But he did a ton for that franchise. He basically saved the Cowboys from, 4 or 5 losing seasons, probably, because at that point Romo was done. They had nobody to replace him.
Yeah.
And Dak has pretty much saved the Cowboys. He's now the face of the Cowboys. I can't understand why they didn't make this extension work and even overpay for Dak. If you're going to overpay for someone, overpay for Dak. Don't overpay for Amari when you have other receivers. You could have re-signed Randall Cobb. He left.
I completely disagree with that, though.
No?
I think Amari Cooper is good enough. Again, not necessarily $100 million, but he's good enough that any other starting quarterback in the league can do well enough just by having him on the team, you know? He's the type of receiver that can turn, maybe a 6-10 team into an 11-5 team.
Yes.
Yeah, I wish we got that.
You know,
All right.
I mean, Dak.
He's good.
Yeah, no, he's not that great. That's an exaggeration.
Dak saved them and everything, but you got to also realize the core that Dak has, the offensive line, the receiving core he had, the running backs, Ezekiel Elliott is good. It helps when you have a nice team around you and a good defense.
Also, just like, Dak Prescott, sure, he saved the franchise, but he is not
He's not the whole reason.
quarterback.
The one thing I don't understand is how the Cowboys are even
those 2 seasons, but they don't need Prescott now to be good. They could have any other quarterback.
You also got to think, though, that Jason Garrett, of course, was holding that team back.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Who knows about Mike McCarthy? Mike McCarthy held the Packers back for his last 2 years.
Aaron Rodgers
McCarthy, bro.
Yeah.
The thing I don't understand about the Cowboys, how do they have is it even possible they can afford Cooper? They have the highest paid offensive line. They're paying DeMarcus Lawrence like $105 million. They're paying Zeke. They're paying Dak $33 million. How is it even possible they can afford a $20 million wide receiver?
Because they
with all those contracts. I don't understand that.
It's probably because they tagged Prescott instead of, signing him to a 35.
That's still
it's a W for the Cowboys,
salary.
but an L for Dak.
So,
Also,
bottom line, do you think at some point this offseason Dak gets his contract?
No.
And do you think Dak Prescott is a starting quarterback of the Cowboys a year and a half from now on opening day?
Is he or should he be?
Yes.
Will he be?
Yes.
We'll get tagged again.
Yes.
So he's going to get tagged again? Okay. Well, then we're just going to run into a Kirk Cousins situation. He's going to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably not going to be the quarterback going forward after this year or the next year. Wow. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. All right. Where are we moving to?
Let's move to some other teams. You want to talk about? We can talk about some of the other winners of the free agency period, like the Browns.
Can we talk about the other Texas team quickly?
Oh, sure. I completely forgot about them. Let's do that.
Oh my Lord, Bill.
Aidan, you start. You seem the most passionate. I think we all are, though.
Oh, just that
Take a deep breath and go.
boneheaded trades I've ever seen. You traded for a running back who hasn't been good in 2.5 seasons, in return for the third or second best wide receiver in the NFL. You couldn't get a first-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. The level of ineptitude is it. I could go on to Madden right now and trade.
That is a Madden trade.
I could go on
A trade to decline
and trade like Baker Mayfield for a first-round pick.
And okay, Stephon Diggs.
That is Jermaine Johnson who gets the second.
As DeAndre Hopkins, he got a first-round pick and more.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs went for a first-round pick to a team that God knows needs a wide receiver, and you can't get a first-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins for a team that also needs a wide receiver.
They got Randall Cobb though. They did get him though. Let's acknowledge that.
Yeah, but like Randall Cobb is not DeAndre.
Oh, I know.
I would hate to be Deshaun Watson right now.
This trade is reaching New York Knicks levels of stupidity. That's hard to get to. This could be worse than Porzingis.
Yeah. I just
because Porzingis at least coming off an injury. Porzingis was at least coming off an injury, and there were still some question marks, and there was allegations against him. DeAndre Hopkins is coming off freaking another phenomenal season where he proved once again why he's the best, and they just gave him away for a guy who's been garbage for the last 3 years.
I would want to see if we could go onto Madden and play as the Cardinals and offer what was it? David Johnson and a second and a fourth.
Yeah, I think and then DeAndre in the fourth, right?
I'm 99% sure that would not be accepted.
Oh my
God.
Let's just think about the last like 4 or 5 months for the last 3 months for the Houston Texans. They blow a 24-0 lead like that to Patrick Mahomes. They blow it. Then they have this happen to them. And Deshaun Watson now basically has 0 weapons to go into next year in a division that they should probably win again. And now they won't win it because their best player is now gone.
No, they'll still win it because they're still going to win it because at the end, Deshaun Watson is the best quarterback in that division. And when the game's on the line, he will get you the dub.
But to who? There's nobody to throw it to.
He'll run.
Every year.
Run.
Fuller's not bad, but he's not no Hopkins, and he's injury prone.
The AFC South and the NFC West are the two divisions I'm really the NFC West are the divisions I'm really excited to watch this year because the NFC West now has 4 legitimate playoff teams, 4 teams that I think could, if the cards go their way, win the division. And the AFC South is 4 teams that all could win the division, but they're all incredibly mediocre.
That's gonna be like the NFC least.
Yeah, it's competition of who can be the best 9-7 team.
I still can't believe that this trade happened. You do not trade a player that's that type of caliber at all. Nonetheless, for nothing. It cost them nothing. It was like getting a bag of chips from the deli store for 99 cents.
Like they wouldn't rather have Le'Veon Bell. Joe Douglas gonna get on the phone.
David Johnson, who hasn't stayed healthy and hasn't been good in how long? DeAndre Hopkins, who's one of the best receivers in the game. You know, when's the last time? First of all, I think this is true that Hopkins was unhappy with his contract or something like that. Your player's unhappy, and what are you gonna do? Nothing, and just trade him. So you just trade away your best player and don't even think about it. That is just utter stupidity.
What are you going to give J.J. Watt away for?
By Bill O'Brien.
So
Bill O'Brien. The Texans made a mistake for letting Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien should have been gone a long time ago, to be honest.
Yeah. So in terms of the Cardinals,
Bill O'Brien,
they won that trade easily.
Yeah. So we
Bill O'Brien is lucky that people are in quarantine because if this was a normal day, I would be freaking outside that stadium, pitchforks, torches, and I would be demanding for that man's head.
How is he the GM? How is he making decisions for his team? That's just awful. Doing?
So we look at Arizona, right? Kyler Murray all of a sudden has this great core of weapons. Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald's still there, another Hall of Famer.
Isabella's not bad.
Yeah, right.
I think they're going to trade Isabella. They don't. Like
They
I
don't
thought
need
he was
it.
gonna have a breakout year.
Yeah.
I mean, Fitz could retire soon, though.
So the point is, do we see them as a potential playoff team? Because they'll definitely be improved, and I like Cliff Kingsbury a lot.
Yes,
I don't trust their defense.
True.
that's the thing.
I trust
That's the
Kingsbury.
thing.
I agree. I think their defense is a little bit iffy right now, especially in the offensive happy NFC West and NFC. They're gonna have a difficult schedule this year. I think they play the entire NFC South, which have
Yeah, I think you're right.
really good offensive, and I think they play the AFC East.
They do.
Yeah, they play
Yeah.
us.
They play us
So
too.
Yeah, the Cardinals will kick the Jets' butt
they're
this year, probably.
they're getting some difficult offensive opponents, and also the Jets.
Hey,
And I'm excited to see what they do with it. I
hey,
think
man, George Fant is gonna be revolutionary.
Yeah, my man.
This team
I
reminds
did
me
like
a
the
lot.
McGovern signing though. That was good.
This team reminds me a lot of the Saints from about 2012 to 2016, specifically the 3 straight 7-9 seasons where, offensively they were an explosion, and they were like the best offense in the league, and defensively they were the worst. I think it's going to be similar. I could see Kyler Murray being a Lamar Jackson-esque player this season, putting up insane numbers both in the air and on the ground. But their defense is probably going to let them down when it matters.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, want to get into local teams around here, the Jets and Giants?
Sure.
How are you guys? Yeah.
So I'll start with the Jets. Going into the free agency period, I kind of expected what we've seen from Joe Douglas in his first free agency with the Jets. Sort of trying to find those bargain bins, especially in the offensive line.
Yeah, he's trying to be cautious. He's not willing to overpay anything.
Right, which is smart, I guess. But there's one piece to me, Jack, and you can tell me what you think about this, that they're really missing. And I thought they had a chance today to make a move for a pass rusher. I thought Dante Fowler was a great fit. I thought Leonard Floyd was also a great fit, and they missed out on both.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what they're going to do with that spot because they don't have enough guys that can get to the quarterback. And in this NFL, you need guys that can get double-digit sacks every single season, and they don't have that really anywhere. And Jordan Jenkins, who's one of the better ones, might leave. So I don't know what they're going to do, but you can tell me what you think.
Yeah, I wanted a corner. I was hoping for Chris Harris. That more annoyed me a little bit than that. I prefer that more than an edge rush because, I mean, our D-line, I think, did a decent enough job last year. What really killed us was our secondary. So that bothered me more. On the offensive side of the ball, I think now, especially that since Diggs was traded to the Bills and all the wide receivers and how little it is, especially with – I'm shocked he hasn't signed yet. Now you have to re-sign Robbie. I don't think that there's a question.
Yep, got to.
I will give Joe Douglas credit. I don't know how he pulled it off. How he signed Brian Poole to only $5 million. I want to clap that up because that was very impressive. Brian Poole,
he's a good player.
To quote Skip Bayless from Pro, he was the number 9. He was the number 9 corner on Pro Football Focus.
Dean. Yeah. Thoughts on your Bills? Thoughts on your Giants? Whatever you want to do.
You guys can go first with the Giants, and then I'll go after.
Okay. I really like what the Giants did. I'm going to be honest.
Good sign.
I like James Bradbury. He's a good player at corner, and actually the Jets probably could have gone after him, honestly. But I love the move they made in the middle of the field, adding Blake Martinez from the Green Bay Packers, the middle linebacker.
He got underpaid.
That dude is a tackle machine. He
got so underpaid.
Every year. Yeah, that was only $30 million for 3 years. I love him.
I think he's been the best, the top 3 middle linebacker the last 2 seasons.
Yep, I thought the Giants did great. I think they've done a great job. Dave Gettleman, a lot of credit to you. Have a good draft, and you won't win the NFC East next year, but you might separate yourself a little bit from Washington and move towards the upper echelon with Philly and Dallas. Also,
I will say I want to go back to the Jets for one thing. I didn't think of this. I do think one thing I will predict, just because I feel there's nobody else that's going to be willing to do it. I think Trent Williams will end up on the Jets.
Could be.
Interesting take.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It'll be a third-round pick. They're asking for a second, but they're clearly not going to get that, and nobody respects the Redskins, so they're not going to hold them to that.
Dan Snyder's a miserable owner.
Yeah.
In terms
Dean,
of
thoughts on your Bills?
Dan Snyder is right up there with Dolan and all the garbage.
Join the club.
Thoughts on your Bills, Dean?
Oh man. So it was just out of nowhere. Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott pulling a late night move. First of all, the first round, that trade makes the Texans management just look more stupid than it already is. I did not think Stephon Diggs sent out a tweet earlier that day saying it's time for a new beginning. And, for a second I thought he was trolling. Because he usually, how Diggs is. He usually, goes on a rant or something. And he said, no, this time I'm serious. And I thought, okay, he's getting traded. And then at night, they get Mario Addison. They get A.J. Klein, who's a good – thank you, Aidan, for this – who's going to be a good asset on defense. Addison, who had 9.5, 10 sacks last year. Stephon Diggs, who's going to help Josh Allen in the pass game. And, yeah, teams could double cover Stephon Diggs, but you got John Brown and Cole Beasley. You have Devin Singletary in the backfield. I really like this trade. The first round pick, I'm not sad that they gave up because they were going to go receiver either way. I do think they were going to get T. Higgins, but I also read that a big part of this deal, why they did it, is because when they were at T. Higgins' pro day, they didn't like his pro day, and he didn't have a good pro day, so they just backed out of it. I think they were going to go receiver with that first round pick, so I'm happy they traded that away. The Vikings got a good haul. The Vikings definitely got a good haul in that trade, but I'm very happy what this team's doing. They're building a little bit on defense. They're gaining more pieces on offense. They still have the draft. They still have some cap left. The Bills are heading the right way, and I think the AFC East could be theirs, but you still got the Miami Dolphins, who have been spending a lot this offseason, I think preferably on defense. Offense will still need work.
You can never count Bill Belichick out.
Can't count Bill Belichick out.
But you can count out Adam Gase right now.
Yes, you can count out Adam Gase every season that he is a head coach and GM.
I like our defense. I hate the offense.
The defense is good. The offense is
Hey,
good.
honestly, Jack, though, if they can protect Donald with these new guys, maybe they have a shot. They did play well at the end of the year.
Yeah, and also, I saw this interesting. I was watching NFL Network today. All the guys, Rich Eisen and all them, they all agree. I was surprised about this. They all agreed. They all think Sam Darnold is the best quarterback in the AFC East now.
No way. No way. It is Josh Allen by a mile.
Yes.
Not even.
Not that much better, but he's better.
I didn't say
Josh
that.
Allen is the king of the East this year.
Josh Allen.
I didn't say that. They did.
I had looking like even back in that 2017 or 2018 draft. If I had the first overall pick, I would have taken Josh Allen
over Baker Mayfield.
First overall?
No.
I would have.
No way.
I would have taken him over Baker Mayfield.
Oh, okay. Okay.
If
Fair
I were
enough.
the Browns, but not necessarily.
I would have taken Lamar Jackson.
But like,
I would have taken Lamar. Yeah,
I'm saying when I was in 2018, looking back at it now, obviously Lamar Jackson at number 1 overall. But
between those four guys,
Josh Allen is the best quarterback that was drafted in the top 10 of that draft.
Mike McCagnon should have listened to Larry David.
That was a heavy top 4. So.
Hey, at least we didn't take Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
No.
10 mistakes ahead of
go
me.
number 1. Was it Darnold was projected to go number 1 to him?
Yeah, Darnold was projected to go number 1.
Yeah.
So
Good thing they
let's
didn't
get
take
to another team that's typically a laughing stock.
I think Darnold just has gaze. That's his problem. You make it like he has no talent.
Darnold's good, but his coaching staff is
Aiden
holding
thinks
him
we're
back.
tasting it. Aiden
Josh
thinks
Allen
Taysom
is a
Hill
more
is better.
athletic, better quarterback, and Josh Allen.
Taysom
This
Hill
is the
is
difference,
better.
Jack. This is the difference between the Bills and Jets, and we've talked about this since
the Jets, and let's talk about another team that's usually laughed at.
The Browns.
The Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are one of the winners of the
Austin
NFL free agency period.
Hooper.
No doubt about it, because Andrew Berry, whoever this new general manager is, Andrew Berry, did a great job the last couple days. Austin Hooper.
Austin
Jack
Hooper.
Hooper, my 2 favorite moves. Love it.
Austin Hooper is right now, number 5 in terms of tight ends? Obviously, it's Kittle, Kelsey, Ertz, and then Jared Cook and Hooper are kind of tied. Or
I gotta
like
say,
around
once I saw that Austin
4 and 5.
Hooper contract, I gotta say George Kittle must be jumping for joy because he should be paid
literally.
10 times more
Oh
than what
yeah,
Oh
George
yeah.
Kittle and Kelsey and Ertz, aren't they both going to be free agents next year?
Yes, I think you're right.
I think all 3 of them are free agents next year.
Yeah.
I'm very interested. I think Kittle resigns. I'm interested to see what happens to Kelsey and Ertz.
Yes.
Well,
But-
I like what the Browns did. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
the
going to be a
Browns, yeah.
threat. They won't make the. They might not make the playoffs, but they'll be a much better team than
No,
they
but
were.
I
this
don't know.
year it's all on Baker. Baker has to prove himself. Last year, they went out, they got all the sexy names, they had all the Super Bowl aspirations, and why did they not do that? Because of him. This year, you need to step up and you need to be a leader.
They don't have. Well, Freddie Kitchens is gone too.
They also, yeah, I blame a lot of that on Freddie Kitchens. I think the single thing that kind of sums up the reason that he was a bad coach was when they went to that second Steelers game, and he was wearing the shirt that said Pittsburgh started it. You can't do that as a coach. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen a head coach do, and that explains to me why I think he was such a bad coach. He was a bad
I
influence
said
on
that to
players.
PA last year when they let Greg Williams go. I said that was a mistake.
He was a bad influence on players, and I hope that this new team can convince Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. to stay at least one more season.
I
Because
was going to say, I think Odell's getting traded.
I really hope he doesn't for the Browns' sake.
Didn't he say he wants to come back?
Unless he comes to the Saints.
No, Jack. I actually saw rumors that the Jets were looking in at him.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how I feel about
true
that.
is, but I don't know. I would like him. I mean, he's good, obviously.
Yeah.
He'd be much better. He'd be the best receiver the Jets have had in a decade.
Oh, 100%.
Hands down.
So back to when you guys had Terrell Pryor the season after he was good. Or 2 seasons after he was good.
Actually, yeah, 2 seasons after.
He was on the Redskins before that.
Yeah, I forgot he was on the Redskins first.
That's funny.
He
was
wasn't
all
good
right
at that
in
point, so we
Washington.
just took him for nothing.
Yeah.
All right, a couple other moves I wanted to point out, I think, before we finish up today. The first one I wanted to talk about was the loss of Kendall Fuller from the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe he's not the biggest name in the world, but he's going to the Redskins, and I think it's a huge, huge loss for a team in the Chiefs that needs secondary help, and that's probably their biggest hole outside of Tyrann Mathieu. They don't really have a lot back there. Thoughts on what they need to do to replace him because he was their best corner?
The best defense, double the
Cross their
offense.
fingers and hope that it like they're good again. I don't know.
Yeah, I would go first round corner if I were the Chiefs. That move definitely stood out to me.
I think
Andy
at first.
Andy needs to accept this. The best defense is double the offense.
True.
Yep.
Maybe they'll go receiver in the first round for all they care.
That's their defense.
Oh, they also did pick up the running back set. I'm blanking on the name. The running back's option for this year. So it looks like they're going to go with him as the starter.
Williams?
Damian Williams?
Yeah, Williams.
Oh,
Yeah, they did say that. I like that. I like him.
I would pick a running back in the top 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Dobbins.
One of those.
Cam Akers.
I just think, I don't know. The Chiefs over the past couple seasons have not been known for their defense. They're not going to be known for it again this year, I don't think. And I don't think they need another cornerback really. They rolled with it 2 seasons
But
ago.
Sean Breland's also a free agent.
They rolled with it a few seasons ago and almost made the Super Bowl. Should have made the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago without any defense.
Well, that was D4.
Now they at least have good linebackers, a good D line.
Frank Clark played good.
I trust them and a better offense.
I don't know. I'm a little worried about Kansas. I love Kansas City. I think they're probably the favorites going into next year, but I'm a little bit worried about them that they lost him and the fact that Bashaud Breeland's a free agent. So I would go corner in the first round and try to sign somebody. But we'll see what happens. And then the last team I want to talk about is the Ravens. They were the best team all season last year. Pretty quiet in free agency, but they did trade Hayden Hurst, which was a little surprising to me. I didn't think
The
they should
Falcons.
give up on
Good
him.
move, great move by the Falcons.
I would have traded.
Beautiful move.
He's
Beautiful
not going
move.
to make up for losing Austin Hooper, but he'll fill a hole, which is
Who are the 3 tight ends? I know Andrews. Who's the other one?
Boyle.
I would have traded him because I think Hayden Hurst still has way more.
Boyle's a good blocker.
But they were also very vocal about being willing to trade Hurst.
Hurst was the odd man out.
Yeah,
he hasn't really done a lot his first 2 years, but Mark Andrews has. But I mean, I would have used both of them because Lamar loves those tight ends.
Yeah,
They don't really have great receivers. They really haven't had them in a while. I mean, we'll see what happens with Hollywood Brown. But to me, the tight ends were kind of where they got a lot of their production out of the air, and I was surprised.
I was a little surprised when I heard the report that they were willing to shop him. I was not surprised when I saw the trade, especially because it was right after the Austin Hooper announcement.
Did they trade Judon?
No.
He shouldn't.
No, they tagged him.
You should try to sign him long term.
Didn't they tag him?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
failed
could try and sign him at some point though.
Yeah.
And I love what they did with Calais Campbell. That was brilliant.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
Good move.
Well, they added somebody else too. I can't remember. Oh, Michael Brockers, another good player on the line.
I completely missed that.
Yeah.
They also lost. They lost Yanda.
Yanda, yeah.
He just
They
retired.
lost him to retirement. Which would
He's
be
a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
One of the best offensive linemen over the past 10, 20 seasons.
Best right guard of the generation.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to
Left guard.
fill that hole. Do we think that they take someone in the draft, or do they just go with what they got? Because I don't see a hole on that team.
I don't know.
There's no glaring thing they needed.
If
What I look at it is, do they really need the protection? Because even if a guy comes to them, Lamar's just going to run away.
True. If I were the Ravens, I would be very tempted to take a pass rusher in the first round because there is a lot of uncertainty with Matthew Judon, and if he does end up getting traded or something, then all of a sudden you really need a pass rusher. So I would be tempted to go at that spot. And also with the way the Ravens play, where they get up and down the field so quickly, you want to be able to have guys on your defense that can sack the quarterback and force turnovers so that it gets the ball back in Lamar's hands. And they
also
more.
they need depth in defense. I mean, like you said, their defense spends a lot of time on the field, in a good way, because their offense gets off the field so fast.
Right.
So there's not a lot of players that can handle being on the field as much as a lot of their defense is going to be on the field this season, I think. So having a lot of depth, especially at the defensive tackle position, the defensive line in general, you don't have to play the entire team, or you don't have to play your best players all the time. Right. Give them a snap or two to rest every once in a while.
Yeah.
Another good.
Yeah, go for it.
You go first.
I was going to change the topic, so.
I was going to say the Miami Dolphins also are having a good off season right now. The Dolphins. The thing is, this might sound a little oozy, but I think the Dolphins are kind of remind me of hype, a little, not really hype wise, the Browns of last year. That they're going to make a lot of moves, they're going to make a lot of signings, but I feel like it's not going to go as well.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Don't get me wrong. The Dolphins are spending on the defensive side of the ball, though they did get Jordan Howard for a pretty cheap price, though he's injury prone. Byron Jones, like I said, who was an overpay.
Van Noy was a great signing.
Huh?
Van Noy was a great signing.
Van Noy, a lot of Patriot players went to the Dolphins too.
Van Noy,
the Patriot players are going to Detroit or Miami, which have the core Tennessee.
Or even Tennessee. Tennessee's another destination.
Also, I'm predicting after this year, Matt Patricia is going to get fired.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I agree.
And Matt Stafford is not long for the Lions.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a quarterback opening.
His choice, not the Lions.
I like Stafford.
I like Stafford.
I love Matt Stafford. I want him to get in the Hall. He has had a Hall of Fame career, but he's not going to make the Hall of Fame unless he can win a couple playoff games.
Yeah.
That team he's on too just holds him back.
Yeah.
But the Dolphins, I think the Van Noy signing was really predictable. I mean, their head coach is the former defensive play caller.
Brian Flores is a good coach.
He impressed me last year.
I like Brian Flores.
Going in, he impressed me.
I'm excited to see how Van Noy does. I disagree with you, Dean. I don't think that they're the Browns of this season because I don't think their signings have been as high profile.
I'm not saying but I'm not saying it in a way of high profile names. I'm saying making a lot of moves.
No, but also in a way,
I get that.
They kind of remind the last year's Dolphins team. They kind of remind me in a sense of what the what the Jets were the year before they got Sam Darnold. I remember there were people considering them to be like the worst team in NFL history, and then they overperformed like the Jets did.
I remember that. I expected the Jets.
I think that it's
Everyone
another
that
good
year expected the Jets
comparison.
to go 0-16, and just like the Dolphins, they went 5-11.
Yep.
The Dolphins spent, like I said, on the defense side of the ball.
Last year, nobody had any expectations for the Dolphins. This year, people are going to expect them to be at least decent. So this year, they got to live up to standards.
The Dolphins also got Shaq.
Didn't the Jets start like 5-3 in 2017?
No, they started 0-3. They got back to 3-3, and then they went 2 and they started 0-3. They got back to 3-3, and then they won 2 games the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so
And they would have won more games, but at the end, freaking, we had Bryce Petty starting.
Yeah.
That was the Hackenberg year where he never got in.
It was McCown who got hurt, right?
Yeah. And also that year, Robbie Anderson, if McCown didn't get hurt, Robbie Anderson would have been a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
A free agent.
They got good Shaq. They got Shaq Lawson too. Was pretty good.
That's who they remind me of. Last year.
Yeah.
A signing that I like is I just got this one. I know, again, I'm biased because of the Saints, but Malcolm Jenkins to the Saints.
Reunion.
Pretty big deal. It was like 3 years, $32 million.
He just lost Eli Apple today, by the way.
Yeah, which I don't care about. I mean, we get to play the Raiders this season, which means we're going to get probably 70 free yards off of his pass interference calls. So that'll be nice. It was 4 years, 30.
Do they still have Janoris Jenkins?
Yes, but some people want them to cut him to save cap space. I think we're just going to restructure his. I'd like to keep him.
I honestly thought Drew Brees was going to be willing to take a pay cut. It kind of stunned me.
Oh, Brees. I mean, he didn't take a pay cut, but Brees is $25 million.
He's not taking a lot, Jack. He's not taking up a whole lot of money.
$25 million.
Yeah, I know. But at this point, the guy's gonna be 40. I really think I don't think he cares about money right now. The only reason he's there is because I think he just wants to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Aidan, one thing I want to ask you about the Saints. Do you think that they go after one of these starting caliber-ish quarterbacks that hasn't signed it anywhere, like a Jameis or somebody like that, so that they can use Taysom Hill more in his do everything sort of role like he was the last couple of years? Because I think that makes sense to carry 3 quarterbacks.
I think they're going to do it anyways. I don't think they need another backup quarterback for them to roll with Taysom Hill as that, fill in. They have to be a little bit more conservative just because if he gets injured, then they're in trouble. But no, I don't see them trading I don't see them getting a starting caliber quarterback, but I do see them getting a second man on the depth chart.
Joe Flacco,
who might be a backup level player.
Like, I'm just looking at the quarterbacks here that are still available. You've got like Matt Moore, Brandon Allen, Colt McCoy, guys like that, and then you also have James.
I could see them going for Colt McCoy. I actually kind of like that.
Blake Bortles as well.
I would love them to sign Blake Bortles. That would be awesome. Then we'd win the Super Bowl, or get screwed by the refs in the NFC. The NFC Championship? That's when they got.
How will they get screwed over this year?
This year
they find a new creative way to do it every year.
Well, they didn't get screwed over this year. They just screwed themselves over.
True.
Yeah. Taysom Hill kept them in that game. They played terrible.
Yeah. No, what's going to happen is they're going to make it to the NFC Championship game, and on the game-winning touchdown throw by Drew Brees, he's going to get nailed in the knee, and all of his ligaments are going to get torn.
Please don't.
Out. He's going to be on the sideline. Taysom Hill is going to start the Super Bowl, and he's just not going to be able to do enough against whatever refs are reffing that game.
You got a dark mind.
Yeah, I hope not.
I really hope that doesn't happen.
Are we ready to wrap this up?
I think so.
All right. It's been fun, everybody. Our second web episode. I think we should continue to do these throughout the rest of the online semester. So we'll see you guys in our next episode. This one will be posted on Twitter and on YouTube as well. So
follow our Twitter and
quick thing.
Yep.
What's
your
Noah? What's our Twitter?
A2G_VIC.
Awesome. All right. Everybody give us a follow. We're also Agree to Disagree on VIC. That's our YouTube name. And this will go up as soon as it gets downloaded onto my computer. And what? Yeah, follow us on Instagram too.
Also.
Agree to Disagree _VIC.
Yes. All right. Good night, everybody.
Peace.
All right, Noah.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.